Good evening, Great Britain. We're Oasis, and this is Top of the Pops, and tonight we're exclusive. Hello, ma'am.
My guest today is a man that needs no introduction. In fact, he doesn't even need two names. Just Noel. He's made headline news a lot, filled stadiums around the world, and has a habit of finding himself at a winner's party or two. I've interviewed him many times, but this time we're going right back to the beginning. I've handpicked clips from across 4 decades, and it's his turn to sit down with me and take a look. It's Noel Gallagher. Okay, so we've got 10 or so clips to show you. Some of whom you're in, some of whom you're not in.
Oh, right.
Do you ever look at your own stuff, your old stuff back?
No, I don't really have the... If there's something on, like an old Oasis gig, I'll watch it for the first 10 minutes, you know, until I go, right, I remember it now, you know, and that's it.
And what about your old records?
No, I mean, if I'm in the back of a cab and one comes on, I'll get the guy to turn it up. So, do you know what I mean? But I love that.
All right, I'm going to take you way back first. This is from November 24th, 1983. Any ideas?
1983. Well, I was still at school. Oh, no, I just left school. I'd left school, so no.
Let's take a look.
Go on. All right. No, I'm doing this Top of the Pop. I vividly remember seeing Johnny and Morrissey on the TV first, and that was like, wow.
Was that the definitive performance that made you want to pick up a guitar?
Johnny was the first guitarist that I can ever remember. Looked like he was enjoying himself in the indie realm, you know what I mean? Indie guitarist role was head down and very serious, particularly Mancunians. He was a big influence on me then, you know, to want to be a songwriter.
Yeah.
I've sat in many a Friday night having a drink and what have you, and just like watching Top of the Pops. They're amazing, you know. You get like like say Bananarama, followed by, you know, Bauhaus, you know, followed by some novelty record by a fucking stuffed giraffe, you know. They're followed by the Smiths, and I don't know. It reminds you of, you know. I mean, it's the one time I get nostalgic, I suppose.
What was music like in your house?
My dad was a DJ. He worked in the Irish social club, so he was playing country and western music.
Sort of the big sort of show band stuff, like Big Tom and the Mainlanders.
Yeah, Big Tom, yeah. But there was my aunties and my mum and dad used to go out dancing to the Irish social clubs in Manchester, and we used to go along with them sometimes on a Sunday afternoon to sit there in these Irish social clubs drinking lemonade and eating crisps. And that's where my first experience of live music come from, would be like 4 or 5 Irish guys, you know, playing Catch Me If You Can, you know, on the stage.
What, they'll Catch Me If You Can?
My name is Dan, so I'm your man, But I can't remember when I was never into music. It was such an escapist thing.
Was there anything particularly Mancunian for you about that at the time?
I mean, we're so lucky to have grown up in that city, to walk the same streets and breathe the same air as, you know, the Buzzcocks and the Bee Gees, Joy Division, the New Order and the Smiths, and Happy Mondays and the Stone Roses. It's quite insane.
Yeah.
To be interested in music and guitars and all that, I mean, you're just in the best city in the world.
Let's take a look at this.
Give it up for Oasis, making their TV debut with Supersonic.
This is a mad programme, wasn't it?
The word is mental.
When I watch footage of those days and I see what I was wearing, I always think I'm wearing someone else's clothes. Someone who's...
Because they're so big.
Yeah, someone who's 2 stone heavier than me and 4 foot taller.
What was it like getting booked on The Word as your first TV performance?
Well, at this point, we were... So what year was that?
94.
94. Right, so we've been rehearsing, like, literally 5 nights a week for 3.5 years. We were brilliant live. We were amazing. At that point, I knew we were going to be relatively big. I just felt it in my... Because I wrote Live Forever and Cigarettes and Alcohol. Supersonic was out. I knew it.
Oasis are being hyped as the best band around at the
I was
moment.
11 years old.
The new single is called Cigarettes and Alcohol. Now, what kind of an example is that to set to the British youth?
The radio probably ain't going to touch it because it says cigarettes and alcohol, but it's not glorifying.
It's not saying go on.
It's not glorifying drinking or smoking. It's a feeling that you get when you're on the dole and you've got no money, maybe to escape from your surroundings, that maybe all you have is cigarettes and alcohol, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, I can see it. We haven't mastered the art of the interview. I had a black eye that's why I had glasses on it.
What, do you remember where it had from?
It was from one of the many fights on stage, or it's just I remember having I wore sunglasses for about 6 months, and it was because I had a black eye or a busted nose or something. Oasis went through this period of there being like it was only about a 6-month period. But nearly every gig that we did ended in a fight, a brawl in the crowd, or somebody...
Between you and the crowd?
Yeah, there was one particular night in Newcastle that's been broadcast live on the radio where somebody got on stage and attacked me, and a guitar got damaged, and...
You hit him with a guitar?
I hit him with a guitar, yeah. But it was honestly, there was like this 6-month period where every song we did would end up in a brawl. I remember one gig, somebody hit Liam in the head with a shoe, and he had the shoe. And I remember we come off stage just waiting at the front door for this guy to walk past with one shoe. We were going to annihilate him. And of course we never.
Was that an exciting time for you?
It's the best time.
That post-King Tut's kind of, I don't know, let's say 6 months.
It was only like 20 years after the fact that you go, oh, it's an amazing period where you're the same age as your audience. You're in the same circumstances because you've not become really famous or wealthy yet. And maybe that period lasts for a year, 6 months. That's where you make your name.
Yeah.
Best band at the moment in the country.
A bit cocky, a bit arrogant, for a lie.
It's like watching the Clash again in 1977.
Yeah, the first 93, 94 into 95 it's just an incredible time.
Hello, we're Blur, we're #1, and we're going to be camping it up later on top of the Pops.
Okay, so never in the field of human conflict. All I can say about all this battle dance business is, if there's any winners at all, it's you lot out there, because you're getting loads of good music to listen to. So, straight in at #2, this is Oasis.
Top of the Pops, the Battle of the Band.
It was ridiculous, really. But that whole part of the Britpop thing was so unnecessary.
Because,
well, this was going to be our single from the record, and then some people come out from Creation and said, Blur are putting a single out on that day too. And I'm like, all right. So we decided to put it back a week, and then they called up and said, well, they've put theirs back a week now. And we were like, oh. And I think there was about a week where we were wholly uninterested in it. We were like, whatever, we're not bothered. And then the whole thing started to catch fire. And then we got interested in it pretty quick. And of course, if anybody starts a fight with me, well, it's fucking on.
Another battle. Two of Britain's most popular pop groups have begun the biggest chart war in 30 years. The Manchester band Oasis and their arch rivals Blur released new singles today, each hoping to reach the #1 spot next week. The music industry hasn't seen anything like it since the Beatles fought it out with the Rolling Stones in the 60s.
But it was the whole shame about the thing is the two songs are shit. That's it. If it was like Cigarettes and Alcohol and Girls and Boys, fair enough. Country House is fucking dog shit. Roll With It is like, has never been played by anybody since the band split up, so that tells its own story.
You know, I'm sure you like and rate Damon and have done for a while.
Yeah, we've become
He's a good guy.
We've become friends.
So when did that amends happen? Do you think, and do you just put that down to like angry young man stuff?
I put it down to...
like me and Vernon Kay back in the day.
I put it down to lots of little different things. Drugs, alcohol, us all moving in a very, very small circle. But years later, we happened to pass each other in the corridor. And we kind of went, oh, no way. And then we went to the bar and got a drink. And the first thing we spoke about was how great all that was. You know, we never mentioned the insults and all that kind of thing. Still haven't.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's great, yeah.
All right. Let's take a look at the next clip.
Am I in this?
This is great.
Who's he? Martin Enfield.
Good evening, welcome to North West tonight. Manchester's most famous sons returned home today. This weekend, Oasis will perform before 80,000 at Maine Road, the home of Manchester City, their favourite football team.
They may be as big as the Beatles, but they haven't forgotten their mum. Noel Gallagher's first stop on his return to Manchester was the house in Burnage, where he was brought up. Mrs. Gallagher's had to put up with Oasis fans knocking on her door in the hope of tickets for this weekend's concert.
Have there been problems here? Is that why you've been sent here?
Do you remember him?
Still know him, Rob. Yeah, Aussie Rob, yeah.
Have there been a lot of fans turning up trying to get tickets? Thanks very much for your help.
Liam and Noel regard this as their second home. They're big Manchester City supporters, and today Maine Road was preparing for 80,000 Oasis fans who'll be at 2 concerts this weekend.
It's probably going to be the biggest day of our lives anyway, until we do it next time.
In the last few days, there've been a lot of your fans round at your mother's house.
Well, there's no tickets left, so I don't bother coming round.
Right, then Mrs. Gallagher doesn't have any tickets.
Parties, like parties, isn't it?
Take the time to make some sense of what you want to say. Cast your words away upon the waves.
Obviously, everyone talks about Nebworth. Was this, in many ways, more important?
When somebody said, we're going to put you on at Maine Road, we were like, a football stadium? We were like...
Your football stadium as well.
Somebody could write a book about that gig because, honestly, it's incredible. When we were doing... These gigs were in April, right? And someone was saying, you can't play outdoors in Manchester in April. It'll rain. I was like, it fucking rains in August. What's the difference? And like, it'd be freezing. I was like, well, wear a coat.
You always wear coats?
Yeah. I think it was just I think it's a Mancunian thing is to wear as many coats as possible. You know, just in case you get into trouble and someone's looking for a guy in a green jacket, you could sling that one and you've got a red one on.
You just get those moments that stick with you for the rest of your life, you know?
Yeah, I remember sitting behind the stage in the Platt Lane end in a box and watching them dismantle the whole thing, and it ended up just in an empty stadium. And I wasn't really thinking of anything in particular. I was just kind of taking the moment in, you know what I mean? But they were great, amazing times, amazing gigs, and you know, it'll never be repeated.
I remember that. I mean, I had my first... I was a runner, researcher, and I just started doing screen tests. I had my first ever pilot in '97. And I remember that summer, you know, I remember Euro 96, and I remember Blair getting elected. The whole kind of Cool Britannia moment. It was a really exciting time to live through.
Well, it's great to be English, isn't it? I think for a long while we've not been feeling too good about ourselves in this country, and it's wonderful to see people being thrilled.
Do you feel like you're making history?
We are making history. Oh, definitely, yeah. There was just something about that generation and that whole thing and the New Labour thing and all that. It was just a moment in time. I kind of felt it then. I feel it more now looking back. You know, I mean, the world was fucking amazing for a few years.
That trip to Downing Street, why wouldn't you go?
You know, I'm too nosy to turn that invitation down.
Of course.
So we went there.
Yeah.
And I remember kind of wandering around number 10 and number 11. And just wandering around, you know.
Taking it all in.
A little bit pissed. And Piers Morgan had wrote a book where he said that I was walking around with a magic marker trying to find Margaret Thatcher's portrait to draw a tash on her. Which is a great story, and I sincerely fucking hope it's true. But I knew we were going to get slagged off for it, and McGee was like, no, I don't think we will.
Even at the time?
Yeah, I remember us being stood on the doorsteps at the end when we were coming out and saying to McGee, we're going to get slated for this. And he's like, no, I don't think we will. And I was like, I can feel it.
Embarrassment and inquest at Broadcasting House, the home of BBC Radio today. How was it that the Gallagher brothers of Oasis were able to spend the best part of an hour sitting in a Radio 1 studio, effing and blinding, praising drugs and threatening violence at 8 in the evening? Are these the people we want vaunted on the front of magazines as the epitome of cool new Britain?
But then Tony Blair, who says he's serious about fighting drugs, had been happy to invite Noel Gallagher to Downing Street. This was the musician's explanation of that visit.
Have you been to 10 Downing Street? No. Well, I have, so shut it. Anyway, I'll be Lord Mayor of London for the next 6 months.
And creatively, in terms of where you were here, was that the sort of period of excess where you started to... Or...
I was a bit lost at this point. And I'm starting to be just drinking and be out on drugs all the time. Like, not a day would go past where I wouldn't wake up with a hangover.
Yeah.
You know.
Drugs, it's like, you know, it's like getting up and having, you know, it's like getting up and having a cup of tea in the morning.
With the whole Be Here Now, do you ever listen to that? Actually, there's some good tracks on there.
No. You know what I mean? Whatever I had was lost or I was losing it. And I think that's the full stop of Britpop.
Do you think you should have done Master Planners now?
Yeah, of course. That's the one regret I have as a songwriter. If that would have been our third album, it'd have been a different story completely. But I was so engrossed in what Oasis had become, I found it difficult to think outside of those parameters. So you would just...
In terms of writing?
Yeah. So you're just constantly going in ever-decreasing circles of, like, stadium rock. And, of course, once you get paid, you know, once you start buying fur coats...
There's a tipping point, isn't there?
Of course. And then, of course, you can't still write songs about the man in the street after that.
Yeah. Were you enjoying it there and then?
Well, I enjoyed it the same all the way to the end. You know, yeah. I mean, there was never a point in Oasis where we were all getting on. Never.
You never had a moment where you...
No, I mean, I joined last. And even I remember on the first day thinking, you're a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? That drummer has got to go. He's an idiot. So even from the very first rehearsal, I was like...
I mean, how do you keep that energy out for that?
Because you're for the music. And when the music wasn't enough was when I just said, I'm out, see you later.
Here, Noel Gallagher has announced he's quitting the band Oasis. He says he can no longer work with his brother Liam after a series of rows. Last night, the band cancelled a performance in Paris.
Had you played that Paris gig, when you walked, do you think you'd still be together now, or...?
I think, yeah, probably. I think if we'd have done that gig, yeah, we'd have probably had a year off and then just...
carried on.
But what would usually happen at the end of a tour is everybody would leave the band. I'm leaving, that's it. And then you'd have 6 months off and then someone would be like, what, are we doing anything? yeah, but you left.
You mean leave?
Yeah.
Just leave.
I just meant just leave for a bit.
But then do you think if you hadn't been brothers, you'd have stayed together as long as you did as the band?
That's a good question. If he wasn't my brother, we'd have probably got on better. The fact that me and him were brothers, it only really meant that we could say things to each other that no one else could say. But I would never put my arm around him and say, you might want to do this, you might want to do that, because, you know, he's not the kind of guy that you can reason with. But I'm glad it happened, and it was meant to happen for a reason. I absolutely believe that. We were seen as pretty good when we were together. That band. We're fucking twice the band we are now. We've been split up for 10 years. Because you're like, you know, you're not around, and people know what they've missed, you know. And now with High Flying Birds, I'm in a fucking great position.
You
where
can
it's like,
tell that, though.
yeah, everything is on the table. I was just going to say, who are these people? It's like my band. I thought this was Oasis.
Can't find the feeling, and all is the same. Pouring rain, it's coming out of the sea.
I remember being at home, and I wasn't really thinking of... I was still writing and all that. I wasn't really thinking of doing it. I wasn't thinking that I'd retired, but I wasn't thinking of doing anything or putting anything together. And it was... My missus does that thing that your missus does when you've been around the house for longer than they think you should have been. They'll do that. So I was thinking, what are you going to do? You going to make another record? I don't know why, I think you should. and I was going, So within 6 months, I'm playing the O2, and I'm like, I remember going out on stage that night and seeing it, and it's huge, and I'm thinking,
you almost had to train yourself to be a lead singer, no?
That started in 1994. My throat's hurting. So I would do a couple of B-sides and think, well, while his throat's not hurting, I'll sing a couple of songs.
Did you take lessons, or did you...
No, I've never taken a musical lesson in my life.
No.
I don't even warm up before I go on.
You know?
No, that's what the first song's for, mate. I've got girl singers in the band now, and they're like professionals, and they walk around the thing going... Sometimes I'll walk past the dressing room and there'll be, frankly, animal noises coming out of it, and I'll be like, are they all right in there? What's going on? They're just warming up. Fucking hell. It's great, but I was learning here, you know what I mean? I was learning, and this was just the start.
Can we have it now for Noel Gallagher and his High Flying Birds?
But for me, the magic trick of music is the first 2 albums, if you're a great songwriter, you've had in you since you were a year, right? And then as you get older and you evolve, you know, it's about how you adapt.
Not for the mountain. Tell me who was standing tall.
Like I say, nothing musically is off the table. I can go anywhere with what I do now. So, for instance, I've got a single out now that Oasis fans, they hate it. They don't just not like it, they fucking hate it, you know what I mean? And there is a certain section of people who want you just to be like that forever, you know, and you have a decision then to make as an artist. It's like, do I want to be like that, or do I want to teach these fuckers a lesson? I go back to the time of the night going into the back room to write Supersonic. Nobody wanted a song about fucking dog. I remember going into the rehearsal room with cigarettes and alcohol and playing that riff, and everyone going, can't do that. I was like, I'm doing it, that's it. Nobody wanted Oasis before they came along.
Yeah.
You know, your taste has got you this far, so therefore
people buying into it.
You've got to keep fucking going with it, you know what I mean? That's
right.
it. And I'm like, I can't, I'm hopelessly addicted to it. I love being a songwriter. I love writing songs. And the older that I get, the more I want to do.
Let's take a look at this clip.
At 11 this morning, a minute's silence was observed across the UK to remember the 22 people killed in the Manchester Concert Hall terror attack.
You ain't ever gonna burn my heart out. Sally can wait. She knows it's too late as we're walking on by. Soul slides away.
I was watching that live.
You're joking?
I was watching that. I happened to be watching it at home. And I was, well, speechless, you know what I mean? I was kind of... Yeah, it's a tragic... I mean, it's such a tragic event. It really brought it home to me that in times like that, community leaders and politicians and fucking this, that, and the religious leaders... We're all trying to bring people together and coming out with the same old bullshit, you know, we will stand for... And it took a song to bring people together. I can't even think of the words to express what it is. It's just the power of music is the thing that brings people together. And without being an extraordinary song, it's an extraordinary thing. Mm-hmm. But the great songs that I've written, they all just fall out of the sky. All the ones that will be forever remembered. They're just there, you know, and nobody knows who Sally is. I don't know who Sally is, you know, and it's a song of no regrets, you know what I mean? It's a woman toasting her life thinking, you know what, I fucked it up somewhere along the line, but, you know, I've got no regrets.
Gonna start a revolution from that moment. They said the brains I had went to my...
What would your 16-year-old self say to you now?
If somebody would have tapped me on the shoulder and in the Kipax and said, by the time you get to your mid-50s, you'll have done all this, I'd be like, fucking nice one.
Thanks, Noel.
Pleasure, man.
Really enjoyed it.
Nice one, man.
Thank you very much.